Welcome to Real Conversations with Patricia Baranovsky-Schneider, the podcast that takes you on a journey around the world to meet some of the most inspiring and accomplished individuals. Discover their stories, uncover invaluable business lessons from their paths to success, and gain exclusive insights on how to apply their strategies to elevate your life and business.
Hello, and welcome to Real Conversations with Patricia. I'm your host, Patty Baranovsky-Schneider. Today, I'm joined by Elizabeth Solaru, a multi-award-winning luxury business consultant, author, and world-renowned cake artist. She's the CEO and founder of the Diversity and Luxury Awards. So welcome, Elizabeth. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you so much for having me, Patricia. I'm very excited to be here. I'm Elizabeth. I'm based in London, UK. And I've just written a book called The Luxpreneur. But prior to that, I started my career as a scientist. I was a microbiologist.
Wow.
I studied for my sins. I did a BSc and an MSc in medical microbiology and parasitology, worked for the National Health Service in the UK,
Wow.
which is our biggest health service provider. Free at the point of contact, very important for people to know that. I really proudly worked for the organization for 13 years and then had a career change, did an MBA because I vaguely wanted to do something in business. And then once I finished my MBA, I realized that, oh my God, I can't get a job with my CV. Doing what I really wanted to do. So I networked like mad, and I got a job as a headhunter. And while I was a headhunter, I did that for several years, but it was while I was a headhunter to relieve the stress from 18-hour days. I started baking again, something I'd done when I was a child.
Okay.
And I remember my colleagues saying, oh my God, these are good enough to sell. You should open a shop. And when I was made redundant in 2008, that was exactly what I did. I opened my cake business. And before I knew it, I was so lucky to get really high net worth clients as my clients, billionaires and royal families around the world. And that kind of started my foray into the luxury side of things.
Wow. I can honestly say you are the jack of all trades. I've never met anybody who went to that extreme, but that's awesome. I mean, so obviously you're following your passion in a way, you know?
Yeah.
Wow. And it is true. Like, you can have every degree under the sun, and just the job market out there is, I love when people keep saying, oh, there's jobs available. Where? I mean, it's just, I was putting out a resume for the longest time. And, you know, it's like, I could run circles around the people that, you know, are interviewing me. And it's like, they would go with someone else. And I'm like, it's all algorithms. What's on and I'm like, oh, this is so ridiculous. But yeah, so I salute you for doing that. That's awesome. Now, I guess you kind of described a little bit, but I guess what inspired you to transition from a corporate career to becoming a leading authority on luxury clients and brands?
Right. As I said, it was literally got made redundant, and I knew I had to earn money. And I just thought, if I don't do it now, I'll never do it. So I started my own business. And then I quickly realized I had a problem. I need to get clients. I need to eat. So I did a couple of things, literally what some people would call direct marketing, which was leafletting, which was getting my delivery company. They used to leaflet really nice areas. So I made amazing postcards. I gave it to them, and they were leafletting for me every week. And then another thing I did, again, direct marketing. I literally took the yellow pages, because in those days, you didn't have Google directories. So I just took the yellow pages, a book this thick, and I called every planner in the yellow pages. Wow. And after about 120 calls, one sunny Wednesday afternoon, I happened to call the office of a planner who was the Queen's first cousin. I did not know that at the time. I did not know.
Timing was right.
Exactly. And I just said, oh, you know, I'm happy to drop some samples. They said yes. So I dropped some samples. And before I got home, I got called back to say, Lady Elizabeth would like to see you. And I'm like, who's Lady Elizabeth? But I went, I saw her. And again, that was another foray into serving luxury clients and the luxury market. And then then I did that happily. I was doing my cakes. I was happy. I was invited to speak on a number of stages because I realized I knew a lot about luxury clients that wasn't spoken about. And I thought that was a bit weird. So 2020, the pandemic hits. We're all on Clubhouse. I opened a weekly luxury room on Clubhouse, just talking about luxury business, discussing news, the happenings in the luxury world with somebody I met on Clubhouse. And that was literally how this whole thing started. And the more people asked me to speak, the more I realized that, oh my goodness, I do know a lot. So just to check, I got a lot of books on luxury businesses. And then I realized that a lot of the books were written by professors of luxury who are very expert in their field, but many have never actually run a business. And then the other type of editor, a writer that I found of these luxury books were people who actually worked for very well-known high-end brands. And again, they were not writing from a founder perspective, which is really important. So I just said to myself, okay, is there a book that if you went back 20 years, you would love to read as a luxury brand founder? And I thought, let me just write that book. And that's how I wrote my book. And we are where we are.
Wow, that's amazing. I like how you are that go-getter and you're not a quitter and you just keep pushing forward. And I love how you have the experience because I went through the same thing. It was like, back in my day, I started as a receptionist and I spent many years, 7 days a week working 18-hour days, raising 2 kids, just putting in the time to work up the corporate ladder. And then I'm here. And then you'd see somebody right out of college and they're up here. And I'm like, but what experience do they have? So, I always said that you learn more because, like, just for example, I would have someone head honcho come and say, well, we need to get this done. I need it in an hour. But having been on the other side, I can tell you all the intricacies that are involved. It's never going to happen.
Absolutely.
I have the experience. So, learning from someone who's been there, done that is huge. And I like how you just found the void, you filled it, and wow, your story's amazing already.
Oh, thank you so much. And
Yeah.
To your point, I love what you've said, because I always say that knowledge tells us that the tomato is a fruit, right? But practical wisdom tells us you don't put it in a fruit salad.
Right.
So that's the difference I find, because when you've actually set up and run a business from scratch, it's a completely, I did an MBA. The MBA for me in setting up a business wasn't, it was limited in its value. Yeah. But if I'd worked for a big corporate organization where I was another cog in the wheel, then great. That may have been useful. But in setting up a business from scratch, there is nothing in that tells you what to do when when things have gone wrong. So there was a lot of learning that you do when you set up your own business, on the job, practical learning. And that was one of the things that I really wanted to address in that world. Right. And also, when you do a bit of research and you look at the real luxury brand founders, many of them didn't come from luxury. Many of them actually came from really poor backgrounds. So to give you an example, Louis Vuitton, many people want a Louis bag, for example. When he was 13, he walked barefoot from his village in France to Paris. He walked 300 miles barefoot. As a 13-year-old child, he was working along the way, earning a living, etc. And when he arrived in Paris, if you think about it, all that experience of being able to get work and survived really paid off when he got to Paris, because he was able to go into a box maker's shop, and he got a job as an apprentice. Wow. And he was apprenticed to somebody who was doing boxes and travel boxes for the elite, Napoleon's wife, Napoleon, etc. And then Louis Vuitton made an observation that the boxes had rounded tops. So that meant you couldn't stack them.
Right.
So he then decided, why don't we make them flat? Very obvious to you and I now.
Right.
But in
Yeah.
those days, that was the norm to make. So my point is, it's actually outsiders with no money
Right.
who have founded all the many of the luxury brands that we know today. So
Right.
that perspective, what you said earlier about experience, it's so important and so crucial. And
Right.
that's the kind of awareness that I'm trying to bring into the luxury business world.
Right. And it is funny because in the marketing world, that's one thing that I always say is, every company, they always hate when I say, but I'm always using the phrase, it's not about you. Everybody thinks I'm the greatest in the whole world. It's not about you. It's about who you're servicing. And we've done like perception studies and, where you have like customers come in like blind case study sort of thing. And it's amazing when you ask them, they're the users. What is it you look for? Is this the message you got out of this? Does this suit the need that you, and it's amazing when you talk to them and sometimes they're like, I didn't get that at all. Or it's all right, but honestly, this would be better. And now I'm like, because people have to get out of the box of it's all about me and this is what I do. And it's not it. It's not about you. It's about, so I think that's great that he was able to talk from the other side and say, this would make a lot more sense. So I think that's awesome.
Exactly. And honestly, you're speaking my language because I always say it's not about you. It's not about me.
Yeah.
It's about the client. Because when I wrote the book, I actually, the last chapter, which is about the client, is actually the biggest chapter. It's about a third, according to my editor, it's about a third or a quarter of the book is actually on the client, is actually on the psychology of the luxury client. Because a lot of people, I say sometimes they fall in love too much with their own product. It's great to be in love with your product, or it's great to love your product, but don't be so much in love that you're not seeing your product from the perspective of your potential clients.
Right. I mean, I won't take up too much time because it's about you, but I'm just going to say, like, I remember back in the day I was working in a restaurant and, I don't eat meat now, but back in the day I did. And if I ate meat, it would have to be well done, well done. I don't want to see any blood in it. That's just me. And there was, basically he was the head chef there, and his head was huge. And people would say, well, I want it well done. And his attitude is, you're not ruining the steak with my name on it. So he wouldn't do it. He would always give like this basically raw steak because in his perspective, that's how steak should be. Long story short, the restaurant closed. It's not about you. But anyway, because it's like, that's great what you think, but that's what the customer wants. But anyway, I'm going to move on. So what are some of the key psychological traits and buying habits of ultra high net worth individuals that business women need to understand?
Okay, brilliant question. So I'm going to answer that by saying it depends on the type of luxury clients. So in my book, I identified 8 types of clients. From the ones people will describe as maybe old money to the ones people will describe as new money. I call them only the bests, to aspirationals, to people who are innovators, to those who are more about the aesthetics of the product or the service. So you have different types. So depending on the driver. So I'm going to give you a perfect example, and I use this a lot. King Charles and Ozzy Osbourne.
Okay. Two different ends of the spectrum. Gotcha.
So there's a meme going, there's a famous meme going round. So if you think of King Charles, Ozzy Osbourne, born same year, both been married twice, both been divorced twice, they both live in castles, right? But the psychological drivers for both are completely different. For somebody like Ozzy Osbourne, I would have him as an innovator, trendsetter. We know he likes doing outlandish, unusual things on stage. We've seen the reality TV show, etc., etc. So we know he's an innovator, trendsetter. King Charles, on the other hand, we know he is what people called old money. He has literal gatekeepers around him. You can't just get to him. You've got to go through someone and go through someone. So so the psychological driver for him would be the familiar, would be loyalty, would be trust, would be the inner circle, would be who would really tell me the truth if I want to, so it would be, and somebody like him, once they find somebody to buy from, they're there for life, for generations, actually. So that would be the driver. you need to think to yourself, how can I prove myself loyal, dependable, reliable, regardless of their behavior towards you? So you will now learn how to handle gatekeepers, how to make sure that you deliver a great product. And with that sort of client, your product doesn't have to be the best. It just has to be good or great enough for their needs. But more importantly, it's about loyalty. For somebody like Ozzy, it's about what's new about your product, what's trendy, what's novel, and more importantly, is he able to adapt your product to his needs? I.e., if he comes to you and goes, actually, can we change the color? Can we do this? So unlike that chef who said, no, because I like my steaks well done as well. And I find I always had the same problem. But the one thing I do in restaurants, I say to them, for religious reasons, I must not see blood on my plate. So that they understand.
Right. I don't know if he would have bought into that, but that's a good one.
Exactly. That they understand. So my point is, with somebody like Ozzy, he would say, okay, can you dip the steak in 24 karat gold? Can you blah, blah, blah. So the point is, you need to know the type of client for you to then understand their psychology, and then how to sell to them, where to find them, and the language that you use with them. Right. So somebody like Ozzy, for example, frustrating as a client, but they would be the source of new product ideas for you.
Right.
Somebody like King Charles would be faithful, reliable until they decide you're no longer part of that inner circle and they cut you off. And that's it. And you can't get back in. Right. So you need to weigh the risk. So yeah, so that's how I'm going to answer that question.
No, I think that's amazing. Good analysis too. And it's, again, like you said, not about you, it's about them. And you have to understand who your customer is, what their needs are, what their personality, because that was one thing in the marketing world. People don't realize it's just like, oh, everybody should buy. Everybody's needs are different. Everybody's, even clothing, everybody's tastes are different. Where do they live? That's why, like, I've worked with companies around the world, and I like how I get the perspective of different people. So, like right now, it's winter for us, but it could be summer for somebody else. Or some places only have their winters are spring, so your clothes here would be, so you have to understand the whole world as a whole and figure out who your ideal customer is and what. So I agree 100%. You have to be adaptable to get, those long-term clients.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I guess, what are some of the most common challenges entrepreneurs face when starting a luxury brand, and how can they overcome them?
Oh, that's another great question. So off the top of my head, first one is getting your branding right. So, because a lot of people's ideas about luxury is completely different. So what I've done in the book is I've laid out the different types of luxury brands, from your entry level right up to ultra premium. So once you know where you fit and what level of luxury you want to be at, again, depending on how many clients you want to serve a year, depending on your price point, etc., then you can fit yourself there. So that's number one. The second thing is not having enough finance to really finance the company, because when you set up a luxury business, obviously, like any business, you need a healthy marketing budget. But a lot of people think, okay, we'll take our ads in this place. No. Hold your horses. Don't do that. What I tend to suggest is you need to go where your clients are likely to be. And what I also advise is look at how the luxury brands, how they do it. So the established brands, what they do is they have 3 different price points. So they have a price point, entry level, they have a mid-level, and they have couture. But the marketing, the branding stays consistently the same. The imagery, the storytelling, because that is a huge part of the branding process. I find the storytelling tends to be really awful for a number of luxury brands. And a big hint, the word luxury, you will never find the word luxury on any material or any website of real luxury brands. They don't use the word luxury. So that is a massive hint. So branding, finance, and then number 3 is not knowing who their clients are. or rejecting evidence that says to them, because the client they will decide ultimately. So if you're aiming for a particular client, they say to me, when I consult, they're like, oh, Elizabeth, I just want rich clients. And I'm like, but rich clients don't buy the way you think they buy.
Right.
And yes, it is about value. A lot of the time it's about value, but you need to know the type you want to attract. So if you know the type of brand you want to be, the type of client you want to attract, you're halfway there. Get your storytelling right, get your branding right, and try to make sure that your company is well financed, so you're not leading from desperation. Because conventional marketing or sales techniques will tell you need to overcome objections.
Right.
In luxury, I feel you need to do the opposite. If people are objecting, find out why they're objecting, but don't try to overcome the objections, because that's a battle of wills. So they're saying no, you're saying yes. Nobody wants to be coerced, especially luxury clients. They do not want to be coerced. They know the power of their spending ability.
Right.
So it's a matter of, okay, that doesn't suit you. Let's move that to one side. What do you want? Can we build something for you? That should be the attitude.
Right. Like even, my daughter at one point wanted to get this prom dress, and, she had one like made, and they were kind of like that. It's like, she was so picky at the time. I don't like this. And they were like, all right, well, let's put everything aside. Tell me what it is you like. Can we make what you want out of this? So they were willing to, because again, you're paying now for this. So they were willing to put their needs aside and say, okay, what can we do to help you? Because it is true, like you say, people are aware of what their spend can accomplish, and they can spend it anywhere. If you want my business, you're going to have to work with me and do what I want. So people have to have like thick skin, I guess, to work in that business, but it's worth it.
Yeah, I mean, you've put it beautifully. You do need to have a thick skin, and because, as you rightly said, it's not about you. It's about the client. At that level, it's always about the client. Now, I don't believe that the customer is always right. I don't believe that, but I believe that the customer is always aware. They know what they want. So it's a matter of, are you hitting their needs? Are you giving them what they're saying? And sometimes they might not even be able to express what they truly want. So this is where you come in as the expert, as the advisor. And this is why many high-end clients, they have advisors. They're surrounded with advisors.
Right.
And you need to decide, okay, what kind of advisor am I going to be? Am I going to be, what you want is incredible, but I cannot deliver that for you. I'm not able to. So there's a level of honesty and self-awareness that you need to have as well.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and it's okay to say, I can't do what you need, but I can get you in touch with somebody who can, because then you still have that relationship where they're going to come to you because they valued your opinion, Yeah,
Absolutely.
Good. Now, can you share how technologies like NFTs, AI, and AR are revolutionizing the luxury business?
Yes. This technology, again, across the board, not just luxury. Again, we know technology is revolutionizing the industry. But for luxury in particular, there are issues sometimes around authentication. So is this a genuine article? Is it a fake, etc.? Because luxury loses a lot of money to fake goods. And also in luxury, the second-hand market, well, I don't want to call it, they call it pre-loved. but to be honest, the second-hand market has been growing exponentially, because a lot of people are now buying luxury goods or products as investments. So authentication is a massive, massive area. Things like certain smart mirrors, where you can stay at home, try on clothes digitally. So the mirror looks at your body types, you can try on the clothes, etc. There's also been collaborations between, for example, social media platforms like Snapchat and Nike, where you could try on sneakers virtually. Tiffany has also come up with AR, where you can actually try on rings virtually as well. So there's a lot going on in that space. However, there is something around craftsmanship that can only be delivered by human hands. So that's very, very important to luxury. And in luxury, there is something very important around exclusivity. Because if everything becomes available by AI, what's the point?
Right.
So this is why. And also many luxury brands, they want to protect their brand name, image. So there's a lot going on in that space. I believe that if used responsibly, definitely it can be. And with NFTs in particular, I mean, I created an NFT. It was $1 million cake NFT, and I just did it out of curiosity, like what would happen? Would somebody really buy it, etc. But NFTs can be a fantastic way to build customer relationships. So they buy a token, they can have access to certain events, they can have access to certain products early. There's also something about fractional NFTs, which I've seen. So if you can't afford a big old massive painting, maybe you can own it. There can be a fractional ownership of that painting by your favorite artist. So there's a lot going on in that space that is turning luxury on its head. However, I believe we still need to maintain the craftsmanship and exclusivity.
Right. Wow. Didn't even know half of that stuff was going on. But it's what I said, this whole, technology world is just, it's so fast. I mean, people say, oh, in a couple of years, I just look from yesterday to today. It's insane. Wow. So now tell us, with clients from diverse cultural backgrounds, how can luxury brands tailor their approaches to resonate globally?
Oh my God, that is one of my favorite questions ever. And that's because many brands, they sometimes forget that ultimately the client is king. So in luxury, majority of clients are actually non-people of color.
Okay.
So, and non-people of color spend 40% more on luxury goods. So I feel that when they are designing products or when they're trying to sell products, they should ask themselves, this particular product, how does it look in this particular culture? So if it could be a handbag, pair of shoes, wristwatch, whatever, but that you just don't say, oh my God, our wristwatches are the best. You need to say to yourself, how does this wristwatch perform in this particular culture?
Right.
How is it seen? Again, to your to what you were saying earlier on. So I feel that sometimes brands create products and they plonk them in the middle of a culture without actually saying, you know what, how does this behave? And another thing I believe a lot of luxury brands need to do is to create two-way pathways. It's not you selling to them. It's a two-way relationship. They're buying, you're selling. But then you need to create events and culturally relevant events that is literally steeped in their culture. So you can't just say, okay, Valentine's Day, yeah, let's just, sell more shoes or whatever, or sell more flowers. It's a matter of, okay, this is the particular culture. How do we ensure that our product is part of that culture? So that's why this question is one of my favorites.
But it's always good too, like, if I want to sell to Europe or Germany, I should go there and just, check it out and just see, because maybe I'm a clothing company and I love this, and I go there and it's, I haven't been there much, but say London, it's always like raining. Maybe what I have isn't really suitable for them. I won't know that unless I'm physically there, or I have somebody on the ground there that can communicate with me and tell me their thoughts and opinions, because everything around the world is totally different. So I agree.
Yeah, absolutely. And, to culture, it's such a huge thing. And I think many luxury brands are beginning to realize that the days of a brand saying this is how you enjoy luxury, those days are coming to an end, because we have a new generation of young people saying, I'm choosing to enjoy my luxury this way. And I call it, my luxury, my way.
Right. Yeah.
So you have it's a generational difference as well. And I believe that when I was growing up, for example, my early exposure to luxury was through perfumes. And I know that somebody like Elizabeth Taylor, she was prolific in creating these incredible perfumes that became almost iconic.
Right.
So I was like, wow. So, but nowadays, with the kids, they're digital natives. They've seen everything. They've been exposed to everything. So now I think their experience of luxury is completely different to the generation before.
Yeah, I'd say this generation, everybody has a voice, everybody wants to be heard, and they're not afraid to tell you. And sometimes, like I hate people who set it and forget it, and they just do things the way they always did, and that's it. Doesn't work anymore. You have to evolve, keep up with the times, ask everybody's opinion, because if you just set it and forget it, adios, it's not going to work.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I completely agree.
Now tell us, what's one of the most surprising lessons or stories you learned from hosting your podcast?
Oh, I think sometimes the episodes you think are going to blow are not the ones that are going to blow. I honestly would have thought that there were certain guests I had that, had big names and had a bit of a pull, that they would be the ones to, so this is why it's very important to treat all your guests incredibly well, regardless of whether they have a big name or not a big name, because sometimes they might have a smaller following, but they have a really dedicated followership.
Right.
So those followers would listen to anything they do, will be actively involved in anything they do.
Right.
And some of my the episodes I thought were not that incredible because either the client, the person I was interviewing was nervous or whatever. They seem to have done really well, and they're my most downloaded. So I just feel that the lesson for me was have a variety of guests. Just make your podcast as interesting as it could be, and also just promote everything equally. So so that was my most that was the lesson I learned the most.
Well, it's funny, like I said, telling you earlier, I post on like Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, Shorts on TikTok. I'm normally not on the majority of these things, but you never know who is. So you just cover all your bases because there's somewhere, and even if what I'm posting, like if I have a financial client posting it on TikTok, would their ideal, investor or whatever be on? Probably not, but you never know who knows somebody. So cover all your bases, post it everywhere. It's not going to hurt you any.
Absolutely. I agree. I agree.
So tell us, as the founder of Diversity and Luxury Awards, how do you see diversity shaping the future of luxury industry?
Oh, again, another favorite question. And the reason I love it is because many people feel that luxury with its exclusivity and diversity, they don't, talking about inclusion, that it doesn't really work. But what I meant by diversity in luxury was diversity of culture, diversity of geography, diversity of ideas, which leads to diversity of thought and diversity of action. And the irony is that many luxury founders would not be the typical rich, upper class, luxury live-in founders that many people think that they are. They actually were diverse. For example, somebody like Coco Chanel, who grew up in an orphanage. She was taught to sew by nuns. And when she opened her first shop, it was actually a hat shop. And the hat shop didn't really do that well. And she opened her shop around the time of, I think, the First World War. So people weren't really buying. But she then went on to create the little black dress as well as the little black suit. So my point is, diversity is actually what brought about the innovation in the luxury space. If we take somebody like Ralph Lauren, he was a tie salesman, but then he started designing ties that were slightly wider than average. And he then realized the power of the tie. And then he started designing clothes and, jeans and et cetera, et cetera. So my point is, diversity is actually what's driving the luxury industry.
Wow.
Again, China, for example, they account for about 30 to 40% of the buyers of luxury goods around the world.
Wow.
So when you have people of color buying the most luxury, it tells you that you need to pay attention to diversity in the luxury world. And exactly a week ago, we had our second awards in London. It's a lunchtime awards. I had 50 brands in the room.
Nice.
And it was great. It was incredible. And we celebrated different categories of luxury, different categories of diversity, from innovation, for example, luxury brands who are doing adaptive clothing for people with disabilities, luxury brands that are doing something different. So even different hotel designs. So we celebrate. So there's a lot to be celebrated, actually,
Wow.
when it comes to diversity in luxury.
And it's actually cool having events like that because, you know, everybody learns from one another. So even if your competition's there, you're still learning from one another. What worked for you? That didn't work for me. How, you know, I think that's great. And having, you know, inclusivity is just really cool.
Oh, absolutely. And again, people, people were so happy for the opportunity to network.
Right.
And it's exactly what you said, because many brands, it's internal. So it's the brands, the client, the brands, the client. For brands to literally come together in a room and network with each other in plain sight. I just love that. That really,
awesome.
really filled my heart. Yeah.
So you're doing good. Now, you've spoken in over 30 cities worldwide. So what are some of the key insights or trends that you observed in the luxury market across different regions?
The trends, definitely, one is of experiences. So I think there was something around COVID that made people realize life is short. We need to live, and I mean properly live, and also, be with our friends, be with our families, because we can be with them. So experiences became really, really huge. And it's not enough for people to just buy stuff now. People truly want to know the story, the history behind what they're buying. They really want to connect, because that was another thing that I saw, the power of connection, not just some things that go beyond superficial relationships. People absolutely love that as well. So there's something around relationships, something around experiences, and also people being a lot more considerate with their purchases. So things around ethical considerations, things around who's creating this product. Where are they creating this product? And are people being fairly treated? Are people being fairly paid? Are the materials used, are they ethically sourced? So those are some of the things that are coming up over and over and again, sustainability, etc. So that's going to be, and that's not going anywhere. I can tell you that now.
No, it is true, because I hear that a lot. People want to know, was child labor used to make this, and especially with climate change and all of that stuff. And it is interesting with the background, because I didn't know half of what you were saying with some of these brand names. And I did a couple of videos called, in the been there, done that video where I think it was called Never Give Up. And it was like a 5-series thing about all of these, like KFC, the Colonel.
Yes.
I mean, Oprah Winfrey, she got fired from her job because they said she wasn't suitable for TV. So it's always interesting to know the background, because you have so much more respect for them after a while, because you're like, wow, I did not know that. Because everybody just assumes, these people, they were born with a silver spoon in their mouth, but you have no idea what people went through. So I think for a luxury brand, like, I had no clue. That just makes me everybody just thinks, they're rich anyway. They're just selling expensive stuff to get richer. No, I think that's so cool.
Yeah.
So now tell us, what are 3 actionable steps for entrepreneurs who want to position their business as a luxury brand in today's competitive market?
Oh, another great question. So 3 actionable things you can do. Number 1, you need to go and learn about yourself, because it always starts with you if you want to position your brands. Because I see many people say, okay, we want to charge more, but when it comes to it, they're too scared to press the button, because they're thinking, oh my God, am I going to ruin my business? Am I going to lose all my clients? So you need to learn about you. Your mindset is absolutely key. So learn all you can about yourself and learn your tolerance. So how tolerant are you to risk? How tolerant are you to certain types of clients, etc.? So the second actionable step is for you to do a luxury audit of your brand. So these are things that I do for my clients. I'll do a luxury audit. This is in addition to a normal brand audit, because it's important to know if people are even perceiving you as a luxury brand at all. Because many people will swear, oh my God, we're luxury. And then we look and we say, actually, no, you are not. So again, luxury audit is an actionable step that you need to do. And when people tell you their truth, please honor, please listen, because we don't like hearing certain feedback, but it's absolutely important for you to hear it, not just, listen and hear it. And then the third thing that people need to do is to understand their client. So you might think you know your client. An exercise that I normally give people is I would say to them, look through your emails of the last 5 years, whatever years, and then look for the people who have been buying from you repeatedly. And if you have 2 or 3, 4, 5 clients like that, you need to find out, okay, what do they have in common? What is it? What keeps them coming back? If you do not know, go find out, because that is crucial. Because what you want to do then is clone those type of clients over and over and over again. So those are 3 things that you can do today, and it's not going to cost you any money.
No, I think that's awesome. And it is true because people, like I said, I always say like the worker bee, you're just doing the job, but you're not looking on the outside, which is the key to running your business, which is huge. Now, anything else you want to talk about that we didn't already cover?
I'll just say that if anyone at all, if you're interested in building a luxury brand or improving your brand, even if you're just an ordinary business and you just want to improve your brand, I would recommend you get my book, The Luxpreneur, because I leave everything, I leave it all out there. No gatekeeping of information. And again, it's been called The Roadmap, the Blueprint to Building an Incredible Brand. And I show you how it's done. And I tell you certain things about clients that you might not have thought about before. And you can get my book on Amazon.
How could people get a hold of you or learn more about your business and stuff?
My natural home is LinkedIn. I absolutely love LinkedIn. I'm Elizabeth Solaru on LinkedIn. I'm on Instagram as well, but LinkedIn is where, and every day I try to post around business issues, luxury business, etc. And that's where I am. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for being on the show. Again, that was Elizabeth Solaru. So thanks for listening to Real Conversations with Patricia. Never miss an episode by subscribing to the channel. So thank you again.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been such a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Real Conversations with Patricia, talking with some of the most brilliant minds on their journey to success and their recommended strategies. Please leave your feedback and visit pristineadvisors.com to get the latest and greatest business advisement on the planet. Feel free to let me know your thoughts, suggestions, and anything else you'd like me to cover. Together, we can make success happen for all.